Hi friends, this is Loli. Welcome to my channel. Today I have a really fun video for you guys, the fake sweets collab. We will talk about that later. Let's jump into the first DIY. For this project, I'm going to be using some of this air dry clay from Dollar Tree. And the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take a piece and I'm just going to keep squishing it on my fingers, just conditioning it so it is nice and soft and it can be easier to manipulate. Once it was the consistency that I wanted, I went over and I rolled it. I pat it and I mark it with a B. No, just kidding. And I put it in the oven for baby and me. Anyway, and just making sure that the edges are nice and smooth. And I made 2 of them. And then I'm going to take some of this spackle from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to add some of my white apple barrel paint to it. I only had a little bit left here, but if you see there, I was trying to squeeze every single drop out of that paint. Yeah, I didn't want to waste a second in there. So once I got that out, I took some of my other paint, my Black & Decker Print and Primer, and added more to it. And I just kept mixing it and adding paint until the spackle was the consistency of whipped cream. And I'm going to add it to the center of these things here. But I didn't realize, you know what, macaroons are not so, so round in the corners like that. They usually have an indentation. So I'm just going to go ahead and use my finger and the corner of my nail there to create that indentation to make it look more realistic. And then I just went over, just removing some of those little creases at the end and leaving the other end a little rougher. Then I added some of this icing on it. This one I was going for a chocolate vanilla look. I actually make sure that everything was nice and even on here. And once I had the desired amount of whipped cream, if you will, on there, I just came in and I put the other piece of macaroon on top of it. But first I did the same thing to it. I made sure that they had those indentations on there. Just, pressing down like in the middle section of that, so the top will still look round, but then the bottom will be a little bit more indented. And then once you see me put that piece on top of the other one, you'll see exactly what I mean, how it gives it that more of a macaroon look. I really love the fact that this egg dry clay was already brown in color, so it was a lot easier for me to create these DIYs, starting with a base color like this. There you can see the different indentation on the both sides, and then I put it right on top of the other one, and here it is. Look at that. What do you guys think? You'll see it in the final reveal. For the second DIY, I took the same clay, but I'm going to take a small amount of it, make sure to condition it. Always do this part, rub it around your fingers, keep rubbing it until it becomes nice and pliable. And then I just rolled it onto my mat until it was pretty thin. I just kept rolling it. Some pieces kept breaking off, and I'll just keep rolling those smaller pieces. And then once they get small like that and you keep rolling them, they will start to come apart. And this gives the appearance of shaved chocolate. So this is what I was going for. So I just kept doing that, rolling it on my little fingers until everything's separated. I'm creating some little pieces of chocolate to put on the rest of my DIYs. Friends, if you have found any value in this video so far, I'm going to ask you to please press that like button. This lets YouTube know that I'm doing a great job, and it shows my content to more people, and it helps my channel grow. Thank you so much in advance for your support. And just like that, we are done. Now for our third inspiration, I'm going to use this teacup from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use this pre-made paint that I used for a previous DIY. It's just a mixture of white apple barrel paint with a little bit of the brown oxide, just very little brown oxide. And I'm just painting the inside of my cup there, making sure that they apply an even thick coat and making sure to do it in a nice even way at the top. We are trying here to mimic the look of some coffee. Once that is drying, I took a piece of cardboard and I just cut it in half. This is just a cardboard in which a sign came on from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut it to the size that I need. I'm going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to fold that half into another half. And I'm just going to take my scissors and cut a circle or a half a circle onto this piece of cardboard. This is going to give me a circle shape once I unfold everything. Now I'm going to go ahead and measure it onto the cup. It is a bit big, so I just kept trimming it until I got to the desired size. Then I took some leftover paper towels and tissue paper that I had laying around just to fill in the bottom section of the cup. And then I placed that piece of cardboard that I cut earlier right on top of that. And this is going to be like right below the line of where the paint ended. And then I'm going to seal it all up with a bit of hot glue, making sure to keep everything down and in place. Then I came in with some of spackle that I have in a piping bag from my previous DIY, but it couldn't come out, and this is what it looked like. I didn't want to waste it, so I continued to put it on there, and what I did is I just added a tiny bit of water to it and mixed it up and flattened it up so it will become the base part of my whipped cream, if you will. Once I obtained a smoother and softer consistency on that piece, adding a little bit of water, I just spread it around, trying to make it look as even as possible. Then I took some more spackle and I just mixed it on there using the same white paint and primer. Just make sure to mix it, and whoops, I went way too far, put too much. So I just added it back onto my container, removing some, making sure not to get any spackle on there. And then I just went over and mixed it very, very well until I got to that whipped cream consistency once again. My friends, if you have not done so yet, go ahead and consider subscribing. It is free and it means the world to me. Then I took the spackle and paint mixture, put it in my piping bag, and I'm applying it onto the top of the other thing on there. If you see, I'm going back and forth, trying to give that appearance of whipped cream and making sure to have my circles there nice and close together. So this will be completely covering the previous spackle that I applied. Then I took some of that shaved chocolate that I made before this DIY and I'm sprinkling to the top. And just like that, this part is done. You'll see it in the final reveal. Friends, as I mentioned earlier, this video is part of a collaboration. It's the Fake Treats collaboration, and it is hosted by Tami from Happiness Created, by Kiki from Kiki's DIY, and the co-host is Tammie from the Rusted Willow. This collaboration is filled with talented people. It's a great playlist. Make sure to go to the description box below where you can find the link to all the hosts and the playlist as well. Don't forget to stop by and see all the amazing creations. For the fourth DIY, I took some more of this clay from DollarTree and I'm going to go ahead and condition it. This is step one. Every time we use air dry clay, I should say. And I just went ahead and I rolled it again. I patted again. No, this time I just rolled it. I didn't pat it at all. I'm going to be creating some tiny little circles. So I made 3 of them. Then I took some more spackle and I just painted it, add the paint to the spackle, but at this time I use Cameo Pink from Apple Barrel, and I just kept adding the paint onto the spackle until I got this consistency that I was going for and the color that I was going for. Then I took some of these straws from DollarTree and I cut them in half, and this is going to be put right onto those little balls there. If you haven't guessed it yet, I am doing some cake pops. So I added that. I made sure to put this straw in and secure it in place by squeezing onto the clay as the straw was on the clay. I did the same process for all 3 of the cake balls that I created. Before moving to the next step, I took one bowl and I'm just adding some hot glue to the bottom, and I'm going to add a piece of floral foam to the bottom, and this is so we are able to stand up our cake pops. So I put the cake pop into my mixture of strawberry icing, if you will, and then I used a tiny popsicle stick and I'm just smoothing it out and making sure it is nice and even, and then trying to give it a nice texture, and then I just placed it onto the floral foam so it will be held in place. And I repeated the same process with all 3 of the cake pops that I created. Friends, I want to take the opportunity to say thank you. I recently reached 1,000 subscribers, and I would not be able to get to this benchmark if it wasn't for each one of you. I am so grateful. Thank you so much for your support. If you have not subscribed yet, please consider doing so and allow me to grow even more. Thank you. Back to the project, my friends, and I rolled each pop onto the mixture of shaved chocolate that we created earlier until it was nicely coated and it had a cute little dust, and I just placed them back onto the same foam until they dry. For our 5th inspirational project, I used one of these small gift boxes from the Dollar Tree and some of this air dry clay as well. As before, I started with a nice healthy piece of the air dry clay, and I'm going to go ahead and condition it and rub it and keep, making it as malleable as possible. And then I'm going to just go ahead and put it onto the box there on the side. I'm starting with the part where both the cover and the rest of the box join. I slowly just kept adding some of the clay as I went, and I just kept spreading it, trying to keep the layer nice and even but thick enough that it will cover the pattern that's on the box. And I just continue to do the same process, making sure to keep the ends clean so it will be nice and level when it's time for this to stand up. And I just try to make it as smooth as possible. Once I got the clay on the complete part of the sides of this box, I just took my fingers and ran it on the top, making sure that the little seam was done correctly and that the top part of this was also nice and clean, and made sure that all the areas were covered. For the top, we're gonna do something different. I took the leftover of the strawberry spackle that I created, and I'm just using the same popsicle stick to spread it at the top. I am making this look like icing, so I'm just going to go ahead and make sure to spread it evenly across the entire top section of this, making sure that all the little edges are also covered to make this look as a very finished product. The intention here was to add frosting to the top, leaving the sides of the cake brown, symbolizing the look of chocolate fondant. Once the top was nicely coated and even, I just took the popsicle stick and I'm just dabbing it on the top, creating little peaks on the whipped cream, if you will. And then I added some of that chocolate shavings that we created previously as well to the very top of the cake. All the smoothing process left fingerprints all over the sides of the cake. So what I'm doing is I'm just wetting my hands and rubbing it against the clay, smoothing everything out so it has more of a finished look. Once everything was nice and smooth, I'm just going ahead and wipe off the plate a little bit, and we are going to embellish this a little bit more. So I took this little paper pack from the Dollar Tree that has butterflies, and I'm going to attach them to the side and one at the top of the cake. So I just did it like they were flying in an upward motion towards the top of the cake, and you'll see exactly what I mean in a second here once I turn it around. Friends, in an attempt to keep this cake safe, I put it in my basement so it won't be touched by my animals. I woke up the next morning and all the clay was completely cracked, so I had to start over. I decided to go ahead and put icing along the sides as well, so I just did the same thing that I did to the top. I made sure to have a nice healthy layer of the frosting on the sides. Then I placed it down onto my plate again, making sure to have everything covered. Once everything was covered, I just went over it using my popsicle stick, and I just created the same little peaks that I created for the top part of the cake as well. Before the frosting dried, I just took some of the chocolate little shavings and I pretty much just tossed them onto the sides, hoping that the most of it stuck, but it came up pretty nicely. I just keep doing that until I was happy with the amount of chocolate sprinkles that my side of my cake had. And once I was done with that, I went over and I reattached the rest of my butterflies to the cake once again in the same order that I have done before. And here comes the final reveal. And here they are amongst other sweets that I created in a previous video. I'm going to link it in the top of this screen in case you want to take a look at it. But don't forget to stop by and see my friends in the playlist. Again, thank you so much guys for watching. Be blessed, be a blessing, and craft responsibly. And if you would like to follow me on social media, here are my social media links. Thank you again and have an amazing day. Bye.